Welcome to Underworld UK, where Britain's darkest stories are brought to light. From the gritty streets of gangland London, Liverpool, Manchester and Birmingham, from Curtis Warren to the Cray twins to county lines and modern day true crime, we cover everything. Bringing you new videos every week. Subscribe so that you'll be notified when the next video is put out.
For more than 15 years, politicians, police officers and the courts have all wrestled with the same question. What do you do with a man that no country will claim? In February 2026, police officers, supported by the National Police Air Service, tracked a vehicle through South Wales before following it to a quiet residential street in Risca, near Newport. Their target wasn't an ordinary offender. According to authorities, they were closing in on one of the most notorious figures to emerge from South London's gang scene, a man known simply as the General. As officers approached the address, Joland Giwa fled inside the property. Moments later, police found the 36-year-old hiding in an upstairs cupboard. It was a remarkable image. A man once described as a dangerous gang leader, allegedly linked to an organisation said to have terrorised parts of Croydon, attempting to evade capture in a suburban home in Wales. But who exactly is Joland Giwa? Was he truly the ruthless gang commander portrayed by police and the media? Or was he, as he later claimed, a young man who became trapped by a reputation he could never escape? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Joland Giwa's story begins thousands of miles away from the headlines that would later follow him. Alongside his twin brother Mikey, he arrived in the United Kingdom in 1999 at the age of just 10 years old. The brothers reportedly travelled without parents or guardians, and in the years that followed, questions surrounding their nationality would become one of the most unusual aspects of Joland's life. Authorities believed he originated from either Nigeria or Sierra Leone. However, despite years of investigations, linguistic analysis of his accent and repeated efforts by the Home Office, neither country would formally recognise him as one of their citizens. It created an extraordinary situation. Here was a man who had spent almost his entire life in Britain, attended British schools and spoke only English, yet remained someone the government could not remove from the country. Growing up in Croydon, South London, Giwa attended Hayling Manor High School before continuing his education at Croydon College and Carshalton College. However, somewhere along the way, his life took a very different path. By his late teens, his name had become associated with Don't Say Nothing, better known as DSN, a street gang that would become synonymous with violence in parts of Croydon. Police would later allege that DSN was linked to robberies, stabbings and gang violence during the late 2000s. According to investigators, Giwa became one of the gang's most prominent figures and earned the nickname the General. Authorities would even go so far as to suggest that he held a leadership position within an organisation said to number around 80 members. But Giwa consistently disputed those claims. Years later, he would ask a simple question. How could a teenager lead men almost twice his age? He maintained that much of his reputation stemmed from bravado, gang culture and videos posted online during his youth. He admitted portraying an image of himself that, in his own words, wasn't entirely real. Because of what I saw on DVDs or gang videos, he once explained, I portrayed myself to be that person, but I wasn't really. Whether viewers believe the explanation is another matter entirely. By 2009, Giwa had received his first significant prison sentence after being convicted for a string of robberies and thefts. He was jailed for 27 months, marking the beginning of what would become a long relationship with the British criminal justice system. It was during this period that his notoriety began to grow. Prison authorities launched an investigation after Giwa allegedly managed to obtain a mobile phone while incarcerated. Images later appeared online showing him posing inside his prison cell, reportedly boasting about his impending release. Meanwhile, police examined videos said to feature gang members discussing violence and claiming territory in Croydon. For many observers, these incidents reinforced the image of Joland Giwa as the General, a man who remained influential even behind bars. Yet, upon completing his sentence, Giwa faced a challenge unlike most prisoners. The Home Office immediately moved to deport him. For years, successive governments attempted to remove him from the United Kingdom. However, every effort encountered the same obstacle. No country would accept him. Court proceedings dragged on. Deportation orders stalled. Immigration detention followed. In total, Giwa would spend more than 4 years in immigration detention after serving his prison sentence, while officials attempted to establish exactly where he belonged. Eventually, judges ruled that his continued detention could not continue indefinitely. He would be released. But there was a condition. He could not return to London. Instead, authorities relocated him to Newport, South Wales, a decision that sparked significant controversy. Local politicians expressed concern that a man described by police as dangerous had effectively been moved from one community into another. For Giwa, however, it represented an opportunity. He publicly apologized for his past actions and spoke openly about wanting to change. He apologized to Croydon for the harm he believed he had caused and said he hoped to work with young people to prevent them from making the same mistakes. He spoke about rebuilding his life, reconnecting with his children, and finally putting his criminal past behind him. "I want to start my life afresh," he said. The question is one that many people watching this video may be asking themselves. Can someone with a past like Joland Giwa's ever truly start over? Unfortunately for Giwa, his fresh start would not last. In 2015, after relocating to Newport, he admitted carrying out a robbery at a William Hill betting shop in Ringland. Wearing a red bandana over his face, he leapt over the counter, pushed a cashier to the floor, and escaped with approximately £600. It was a dramatic fall for a man who had spent months speaking publicly about redemption. Years later, following his release, Giwa once again found himself before the courts. In 2020, plainclothes police officers observed what they believed to be a drug transaction near a children's play park in Newport. The court heard that Giwa arrived on an electric scooter before meeting another individual. When officers moved in, prosecutors said he attempted to flee, forcing police to deploy pepper spray before finally bringing him under control. Officers recovered Class A, drugs, cash, and multiple mobile phones. Giwa pleaded guilty to drug trafficking offences and was sentenced to more than 4 years in prison. His defence argued that he had fallen into debt and had been exploited by individuals higher up the criminal hierarchy. Nevertheless, the conviction represented yet another chapter in an increasingly lengthy criminal record. By this point, Giwa had accumulated multiple convictions covering numerous offences stretching back more than a decade. And yet, despite repeated prison sentences, the story still wasn't over. In 2026, police once again came looking for Joland Giwa. This time, officers tracked him to Risca, South Wales. After entering the property, they discovered quantities of crack cocaine, heroin, and cocaine, along with cash and evidence consistent with drug supply. Investigators estimated the value of the drugs to be approximately £17,000. Faced with overwhelming evidence, including drug-related messages found on his phone, Giwa pleaded guilty to possession with intent to supply Class A drugs and possession of criminal property. The sentence handed down by Cardiff Crown Court was 3 years and 11 months. Nearly 2 decades after first entering the criminal justice system, Joland Giwa was heading back to prison once again. Today, his story remains one of the most unusual in modern British criminal history. He is a man who says he isn't the person the public believes him to be. A man who insists that the general was little more than an image created during his youth. A father who considers himself British despite spending years fighting deportation proceedings. But he is also a man with an extensive criminal record, repeated convictions, and a history of returning to prison despite being offered multiple opportunities to begin again. So, where does the truth lie? Was Joland Giwa a dangerous gang leader who never truly escaped his past? Or was he a product of his environment? A young man who became trapped by a reputation that followed him for the rest of his life? Whatever the answer, one fact remains undeniable. After more than 15 years of prison sentences, deportation battles and criminal convictions, Britain still doesn't know where to send Joland Giwa. And perhaps the final question is the most important of all. If the general walks free again one day, will he finally leave his past behind? Or are some reputations impossible to escape? If you are into true crime stories and news, then give us a like and subscribe. That way you will be notified when we put out a new video, and you will also be playing your part in helping our channel grow. So thank you and see you next time.